Hello everyone, it's Mr. Rothgeb. This is our gateway number 3, operations with fractions helper. Remember, this is no calc, so you want to make sure that you get good at the basics of adding fractions. The number one thing you got to remember when you're adding fractions is that you have to have the same denominator. Once you have that, like here in number 1, you're basically just adding the number of fourths. So if you literally think of this as 1/4 plus if you literally just think of this as 1/4 plus 3/4, so let's color this in. So this would be 1/4, right? And then this would be 3/4. Boom. You can see if you add this to here, you would have 4/4, which is also would simplify to 1. Yes, you must simplify those, so make sure you do. The big mistake people make when they add fractions is they want to add these denominators to get 8. You don't want to do that because you're not adding the denominators. You never add the denominators. You multiply them. When you're multiplying, you multiply top and bottom. But when you're adding, you only add the numerators because you're adding the number of pieces. This just tells you how many pieces you're chopping the circle up into. This tells you how many of those pieces you have. So don't make that mistake. Next, let's look at number 2. So with these, this is what you know is a mixed number. This is what you know is improper, but it's actually much better to call it top heavy. So this is a top heavy fraction, and this is a mixed number. So you could attack this 2 different ways. You could say, all right, well, I could just add the 5 and the 3, and I could get 1 and 8/4, which is fine, but you need to remember that 1 and 8/4 is really 1 plus 8/4. You can just write it like that. We also know that you can't leave it like this. So you have to put, 8/4 is 2, so it would be 1 plus 2, which equals 3. The other way to do it, if you want to think through it, is to say, well, all right, I can just turn 1 and 3/4 into a top heavy. Remember, 4/4 is 1. So if you think of this, let me erase this. If you think of this as 1 and 3/4, think of that as 1 plus 3/4. Think of 1 as 4/4 plus 3/4, which is 7/4. So then you add them to get, remember, only add the tops. So we're going to get 12/4. Now, can we leave it as 12/4? If you remember the video from Gateway 1, you always check to simplify your fractions. So 12/4, check 2, 3, and 5. Does 2 go into both? Yep. So then we divide top and bottom by 2. Sorry, this is a little sloppy. This is going to be what, 6/2? And then start over again. Does 2 go into both? Yep. So then divide top and bottom by 2 again to get 3/1, also known as 3. Now, some of you might have looked ahead and said, wait a minute, 12 divided by 4 is just 3. And you said, why can't I just skip all the way from here straight to here? You totally can. Totally not a problem at all. Okay, those are some of the ones with mixed numbers. So let's skip over to down to the ones at the bottom that don't have common denominators. So let's look down at number 10. So with this, you notice that they don't have common denominators, and you've got to have common denominators. So what that means is, here's a common mistake people make. They just add them together. 15/15 is 1, right? That can't be true. The reason that can't be true is because this is top heavy, which means it's already bigger than 1. So if you add 1 to something bigger than 1, you can't get 1. That's why you can't just add denominators. That's not what you're doing. So we've got to make sure we get common denominators here. So what we're looking for is a number that 8 and 7 both go into. You also can just multiply one side by 7 over 7. And the other side by 8 over 8. Where did I get that 8? From here. Where did I get that 7? From here. Because you want to get top and bottom. So when we do that, we get what? 49 over 56. Plus 8 times 8 is 64. 7 times 8 is 56. Do we have common denominators? Yes, we do. So we can add those together. This is no calc, so if you need to do a little scratch work, you can do that. I can do it in my head, so I'll just do 113 over 56. Next, let's check our test. Does 2 go into both? Nope. I know that because 113 ends in 3. Does 3 go into both? Well, this one's tough because remember our test for 3? Our test for 3 is you add the digits. So 113, 13 is going to be 1 plus 1 plus 3. Add those together, we get 5. Does 3 go into 5? Nope. So therefore, it does not go into 113. It's that simple. Same with 56. Add the digits. 5 plus 6, that's 11. Does 3 go into 11? Nope. Then it doesn't go into 56. Done. So 3 doesn't go into either of them. Let's test 5. 5 doesn't go into either of them because in order for 5 to go into it, it's got to end in 0 or 5. Let's do one last quick test for 7 because I know 7 goes into here because it's 7 times 8. So let's see. You can do a little scratch work over here if you want. If you wanted to do something like this, that's fine. You could do 1 times 7. 7. What is this? 4. 43. 7 does not go into 43, so then 7 doesn't go into here. So then it looks like we are good to go. The reason you don't need to test higher numbers is that most other higher numbers are not prime. If they are prime, we can test if they go in. Whoops. But any other numbers such as 6 or 9, if 3 doesn't go into it, then 9 doesn't go into it. And same with 6. Okay, let's try some other ones. Let's flip to finding the difference. All right. So let's try... Yeah, let's try this one. Number 17. So what we did in gateway number 2, we're going to do the same exact thing here. We're going to keep, change. So we're going to keep, change. I like to get in the good habit of rewriting the positives out here. This is a positive too if you really want to get technical. You also do not have to write this positive or that positive if you don't want to. What we should be looking at is, do they have the same denominator? We do not. So what we can do then is we can multiply both sides by one another or find the nearest number that they go into. 2 and 7, the nearest number they go into is 14. So I'm just going to multiply this side by 2 over 2 because this denominator over the left is 2. And I'm going to multiply this side by 7 over 7. All right. And then we go do that. We have 3 times 7 is 21 over 14 plus 22 over 14. 20 plus 20 plus 1 plus 2 is going to be 43 over 14. Let's do our test. Does 2 go into it? Well, nope. Does 2 go into both? No, it does not because 43 is odd. Does 3 go into both? Well, let's see. 1 plus, add the digits, 14. 1 plus 4 is 5. 3 doesn't go into that, so it doesn't go into 14. Let's try 43. 4 plus 3 is 7. 3 doesn't go into that, so it doesn't go into 43. So no good on 3. 5, I immediately know 5 does not go into either of them because 43 ends in 3, 14 ends in 4. It's got to end in 0 or 5. Let's test a quick 7. 7 goes into 14, but it does not go into 43. So we are good to go. Let's try a couple more. So let's try, before we move into, let's try this one, number 21. So again, we're going to keep, change. So we're going to keep change, and get in the good habit of rewriting it. Watch how I write -6/5. This comes in very handy. See how I put the negative up top? You can put it out front. The typewriter, when they type the math, will put it out front a lot. It's going to make your life way easier to just write it up top like this. And then I'm going to put plus over 2/3. Notice I switched the sign to the numerator. That makes your life a little bit easier. Oh, right. You should notice that we do not have common denominators. So I'm going to multiply this side by 5 over 5. I'm going to multiply this side by 3 over 3. Good. 3 times -6 is -18. Well, 3 times 5 is 15. 2 times +5 is 10. 3 times 5 is 15. Now, we have common denominators, but check out what we're adding on top. We're adding -18 plus +10. So if you've been practicing your gateway number 2, which is adding integers, you should know that -18 plus +10 is -8 over 15. And then let's do our little check. Does 2 go into it? Nope. 2 doesn't go into, does 2 go into both, I should say. Nope. So because 2 doesn't go into 15. Does 3 go into both? It goes into 15, but it doesn't go into -8. No good for 3. Does 5 go into both? Nope. Because it goes into 5, but not -8. Quick check for 7. Nope. Doesn't go into each of them. We are good. You can leave it just like that. Fabulous. That's addition. So remember with addition, this is important. Addition must have common denominators. Also, only add the numerators, the top. You never add the bottoms. Multiplication is a completely different thing. Multiplication, we're just going to multiply straight across. So multiplication you just multiply straight across. So multiply the numerator, multiply the denominator. Seriously, that's it. So let's take a look at 25, for example. Remember that trick I showed you in the previous question to rewrite it? Rewrite it like this. Now, if you're saying, well, I don't need to do that because I just know a negative times a negative is a positive. Okay, I hear you. But a really good habit to save yourself a lot of stress is to just rewrite it like that with the negative up top. The typewriter writes it with the negative out front. It's not wrong to write it that way. It's just different. Because now look what we've got. We are now going to multiply the tops and multiply the bottoms. Okay? So multiply the numerators together. -5 times -13. Again, this is no calc, so if you need to do a little scratch work, that's cool. I know that's 65. And I know that -5 times -13. Remember, when you multiply a negative times... Multiplying by a negative switches the sign of the other number. So because I'm multiplying by a negative here, it switches this sign in the product to a positive. And then 4 times 7 is 28. As always, do your check. What do we got? 2. Does 2 go into both? Nope. Doesn't go into 65. Does 3 go into both? Well, let's see. 6 plus 5 is 11. 3 doesn't go into that. No good. 2 plus 8 is 10. 3 doesn't go into that. All right. So 3 doesn't go into either of those. Let's check 5. Nope. 5, I automatically know doesn't go into 28 because it doesn't end in 5 or 0. Boom. Let's check 7 real quick. 7 goes into 64, but not 28. Yes, but not 60. Good. We're done. Moving on. Let's do one of these. Okay, for 26, remember what I said is you're multiplying the tops by the tops, the numerator times the numerator, and the denominator times the denominator. So if you have something like this that doesn't have a denominator, make one. 7 as a fraction is just going to be 7 over 1. Remember to rewrite that fraction with the negative on top. Now we're ready. If it's not a fraction, make it one. If it's a mixed number, make it into a top heavy. All right, let's do this. So 7 times negative 9. Remember, 7 is a positive, so multiplying it by a negative does not change its sign. So it's going to stay negative, 63. 1 times 10, of course, is 10. Let's do our checks. Does 2 go into both? Nope. Does 3 go into both? Nope, not 10. Does 5 go into both? Goes into 10, but not 63. 63 goes into 7, but not 10. Boom, we're done. There we go, that's multiplying. Let's try one last one here. Let's do, here we go. Let's try 37. So let's start by rewriting it. We have negative 1 over 8 times negative 16 over 9. Okay, there's two different ways to look at this. You could say, wait a minute, I know that 16 and 8 go into one another. So you could think of it like that. Maybe you've seen something like this. And then you can multiply tops and bottoms. That's cool. If you feel comfortable doing that, do that. If you don't, then don't stress about it. Just do what we've been practicing. Just multiply across. So we're going to multiply numerators times numerators. Negative 1 times negative 16. This is a negative 1. So it's going to flip. Multiply by a negative changes the sign of the other thing. So that negative 1 is going to change the sign of the 16. So it's going to be positive 16. And then 8 times 9 is 72. Let's do our checks. Always do the checks. Does 2 go into it? Into both? Yes, it does. Because check it out. They're both even. Alrighty. Well, then we're going to divide top and bottom by 2. 16 divided by 2 is 8. 72 divided by 2 is 36. If you need to do a little scratch work, you do it. Next, let's go back and check again. So once you check for 2, that's only on this fraction. Once you simplify it, you do it again. So let's check 2 again. Does 2 go into both here? Yes, it does. So we're going to divide top and bottom by 2. What do we got here? We got 4 over 36 divided by 2 is what? 18? Good. Now check again. Does 2 go into both? Yes, it does. So divide by 2 again. Now, if you're saying to yourself, wait a minute, I know that 8 goes into 16 and 72. Why don't I just divide by 8 to begin with? That's absolutely fine. You do you. But if you're stuck and it's even, just keep cutting them in half. I'm going to run out of room here. I'm doing a bad job of space management. So I'm going to cut this into 2 over 9. And now I'm going to do my check one more time. Does 2 go into both? Nope. Does 3 go into both? Nope. Does 5 go into both? Nope. Does 7 go into both? Nope. Life is good and we are done. Cool. Hopefully that helps you. Again, you can skip around. Make sure you check this out on the YouTube channel. And